Are men and women equal?
Again, it depends in which state. Strength-wise, probably not.
No.
Height-wise, probably not.
How about period?
I mean, no, because okay, so if it was voting for the president, a woman's vote counts as well as a man's vote. So that's, that's equal. If it's down to, running a marathon, a man is probably going to be able to do more than a woman can. A lot of people can do more than me. So that, but it all depends. I don't think you can say are men and women equal because it all depends.
Is there anything that a woman is equal to a man in or with? Is there anything?
I mean, it could be capabilities, but it depends on what it is. Like, for example, so I talk about this when two people apply for a job, and on paper, if they both have the same degree from the same place, when you're assessing the two, you would tick the box on both of them because they're both educated. And in that case, if they've got the same degree from the same institution, then you can say, yeah, they're equal in that
But
instance.
once they got the job, let's say that if the woman got the job over the man, then the owner of the business would have to lower the standards a little bit so that the woman can feel that she fit in, that she's equal to the man, which will weaken the man as well, because you got to bring the standard down and pretend that the woman can do it in the same manner that a man can.
I have not experienced that in the 18 years that I've been working.
I bet you have, but they just haven't told you.
I mean, hey, I can't say that for sure. If someone hasn't told me that, I don't know that it did or didn't happen.
Right.
But I know that I don't think there's a perception. What am I going to say here? I don't think they lower the bar when a woman joins a company. I'm going to put that out there. I don't think they hire a woman just to I don't think that's going to make a company worse off. I think women bring a number of skills that are traditionally more feminine than I'm going to say, traditional alpha male, fist on the table, you do what I say, that used to happen in boardrooms and meeting rooms. I think leadership is changing, that it's becoming a lot less autocratic and a lot more of having a lot of voices contribute and say, yep, this is what we want to do. Because that's what the workers of tomorrow want. They want their voices in the room.
And you're right. Things are changing as a result of bringing women in, but they're not getting better. They are changing, but not for the best. They're only getting worse. You now have men afraid to be men. They're careful how they act and what they say around the woman. I noticed in the military, now that they're starting to allow women to be in the military, the standards are very low now. And the men have to, within themselves, lower their ability in order to make the woman feel that she's equal to him. Even the grime and jumping the wall and fighting one another and knocking each other out and cursing while you're knocking them out. The men have to lower their standards so that the woman can feel she's equal. Otherwise, she's going to say that they're discriminating against her.
I don't think anybody should do that,
But
though.
they do it.
I believe you. I've never heard any different. I've got no experience with the military, but I would say, if someone wants to be fulfilled in life, they don't want to hold themselves back
Right.
in any area. And I've had lots and lots of experiences where I have been around people who are better than me at something. I mean, one of my best friends, she used to play squash for Scotland. Very, very sporty, beat me all the time at any sporting activity, you name it. She's still my best friend because she was good at that, but I was good at other things. And for me, I guarantee everybody is good at something. There is something inside every single person that they are good at.
You're right about that. Everyone are good at something, but the difference is when you bring a woman into a man's world, he have to lower his ability so he doesn't fully develop into manhood because he is stifling himself in order to pretend that woman is coming up to him. He's really gone down to her. So as a result of doing that, he never become his full self because it's like a man growing tall, but because his sister is mad that he's taller, and mama made him stunt his growth so the sister doesn't feel bad. It's like that in the world today. Men are stunting their growth in order to make the woman feel better. Or she's gonna cry and call it some form of discrimination or something. Now you got a lawsuit on your hand, and the bosses don't want that.
I think they've got organizational problems if that's going on.
It's happening all over the place.
I mean,
go ahead.
Last year, no, the last few years, I've done quite a lot of work with agility, where the best practices that I've seen is where everyone gets to do what they are really good at. And then you build the team together, putting all the right skill sets together in order to deliver for the business. And it just energizes everybody because no one's stunting themselves. They're all able to, push themselves. And when you've got a great environment of those people, you can actually learn from each other. So being good at something is awesome, but it's even better when you can teach someone else and, get them just as good.
Should a woman be allowed to play in men's sports?
What is a man's sport?
Football, basketball, soccer, boxing, wrestling, ride
from
horses,
the UK,
ride a bull.
I mean, we all fly the flag for the Lionesses, who won last year. So they play football and they're really good at it.
That's a girl team?
Yeah, it was a England women's football team.
But that's all right for the women to play in their own team. Should women be allowed to play in men teams or men teams?
I mean, immediately I start thinking about mixed doubles tennis. They have men and women on it. I think it all comes down to what are the rules of the game, and is it fair on both sides? Because if you've got a mixed team on both sides, then why not?
So should women be allowed to play in men's sports?
With other women, yes. By themselves, I'd be like, I don't know if I'd want to join like an American football team being the only woman there. I'd be like, no, thank you.
Right. And so should women be allowed to play in men's sports?
They should be asked.
Should they be allowed?
Allowed. Yes. I don't think it should be a rule that says you are allowed or you are not.
Why not?
I would say, yep, make them all, because then that's someone else. What I find with a lot of rules, and especially, with the world changing as it is, sometimes they can get outdated very quickly, or they could be written in one way with something in particular intended, and then something else comes up and someone goes, nah, but the rule says this. So it all depends on the specific circumstance.
So you're saying, yes, a woman should be allowed to play in men's sports?
With other women, yes. So again, I'm qualifying the statement.
I'm not talking about with other women. Men's sport. Should women be allowed to come in there and play with the men?
If they want to, and they have the ability to, sure.
Should they be allowed?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Should men be allowed to play in women's sports?
Yes. Sure.
And so you're okay with the transgender men playing in women's sports?
I do not have a stake in it. Like I say, I'm not a sports person on it. I think it all comes down to who they're playing with, your team members.
Right.
Any sport where it's a team, it has to be a team decision.
So under women's swim team, it's all women, and now men are starting to want to become a part of it. Should they be allowed to get into that all women swim team?
I can tell you, I definitely don't talk about any of this in the book. I mean, I know there's a lot in the news about this at the moment.
Right.
I honestly, I would need to educate myself more on it. All I would say it from the perspective of I think gender sometimes, if it's used as a barrier, can be a problem. It all depends. But, you know, if someone works hard and they train really hard for the sport that they want to play, then, you know, they should have that opportunity to be able to play that sport.
Meaning that if men work hard to win, but they can't beat the guys, they should be allowed to play, compete in the women's sport with the women. Since they work very hard to beat the men, but they couldn't. And so
then maybe they need to work harder.
And then and they join the women's team, they beat in everything. That should be fine.
I think for example, boxing. Boxing has weight classes. You don't put a featherweight in with a heavyweight.
Right.
And that's not a gender thing. That's a category thing. I would say that type of categorization, like fencing, it all depends on your reach. You wouldn't put someone, you know, who has a really, you know, young, I've seen kids fencing. You wouldn't have them playing with an adult because that just wouldn't be fair. So you need the evenly matched.
So you're saying, if I'm reading it right, and I'm black and slow, so forgive me, you're saying, yes, women should be allowed in men's sport, but men and women's sport need to be thought about.
I would say both sides need to be thought about.
Okay.
Like I said, if you put me on an American football team, I think I would just get crushed.
That's because you're a lady.
And honestly, it's probably not something I would like to do. But I'm sure there are women in the world who, you know, I've decided that because there's, you know, so many billion people in the world, you're probably going to find somebody with every single opinion on the planet.
Absolutely.